that you're going to use Dreamweaver to create websites. However, creating websites using Dreamweaver takes a little preparation. If in the past you've only used site builders that some hosting companies offer to build your websites, then you haven't had to worry so much about preparation. But don't worry, preparing to set up a new or existing site with Dreamweaver isn't hard. In fact, it will actually make designing your site a lot easier. The first thing that you need to know is that any typical Dreamweaver site has 3 parts. The local folder is where the files are stored on your computer. You must create a folder for any new website that you create using Dreamweaver, and store files for that website in the folder. You can also use your local folder to store root folders. Your local folder will house all websites that you create with Dreamweaver. Your root folder will house individual sites. Take a minute to create a local folder on your computer right now. This is where you will store all exercises that you complete during this course. Name the local folder Course Sites. Now, the remote folder is typically the location on the web where you store your files for testing, collaboration, or publication. You can upload files to a remote folder using an FTP client. And finally, the folder for dynamic pages, or the testing server folder. This is a folder where Dreamweaver processes dynamic pages. Usually it's the same as the remote folder. There's no need for you to worry about this unless you are developing a web application. Now in this lesson, you're going to learn to set up a new site both by reading how to do it and by actually doing it. You're going to want to set up a root folder for all files that will be included in this new website. Set up your root folder within the Course Sites folder by just creating a new folder. You're going to name this root file New Site. You're going to name this root file New Site. In this folder, you'll want to place any images or other files that you'll use in your website. And don't worry about adding any files just yet. We'll do that later in this lesson. Next, you have to define the folder that contains your website information, documents, images, and other files in Dreamweaver. If you don't define the folder, there will be features that won't work properly. For example, images may not load on the page. So to define the folder, go back into Dreamweaver, go up here to Site, and Manage Sites. You will see this dialog box opens. Click on New Site. Make sure that Site is selected from this menu here, and then click the File button to locate your site. And then find your new site folder on your computer. Remember that you'll first have to double-click on the Course Sites folder, and then click to select the New Site folder. Once you've selected your site folder, you're taken back to this window. You can now name your site in the Site Name field, and then click the Save button. We're going to name this site Example. And now our example appears in our Manage Sites window. Go ahead and click Done. And you'll see that our site also appears here in the Files panel. You can set up as many different websites as you want in Dreamweaver. As we just talked about, they'll appear in your Files panel. If you're working on one website and want to switch to another website, all you have to do is go to the Files panel, select the name of the site, and then click the drop-down arrow beside the site name. So if you look at the panel here, you'll see that our site name is up in the upper left corner. And you'll just select the site that you want and click on it. It's as simple as that. Once you set up a site, as we already learned to do in this lesson, you can make changes and additions to the way you set up the site. To do this, go to the Site menu bar, and then click Manage Sites. Now right above the Import Site button, you'll see these 4 icons. First we have the minus sign, and this deletes a site from the Manage Sites window. When you select the site in the window, then push the minus sign icon, you don't delete folders associated with the site. Instead, you remove the site setup from the Dreamweaver program. This is the edit icon, which looks like a pencil, and when you click on this, the site setup dialog box opens. You can change the name of the site or change the local folder. The duplicate icon makes a copy of the site setup, however, it doesn't create a new copy of your site. And the export icon exports the site definition. It doesn't create copies of the files. It simply exports the .ste file so that you can share site setup information on different computers. Located below these icons is the Import button. You use this button to import .ste files if you want to add site setup information to the Dreamweaver program on your current computer. You'll also see a few Business Catalyst buttons in the window. Business Catalyst is a hosted web service that offers extended features for Dreamweaver, including shopping cart services. So keep those buttons in mind if that's something that you think you'll want to do in the future. So you should now be able to see your folder listed in the Files panel. All files stored in the root folder will be displayed in the Files panel. You can go to the Files panel as you work on your website and open, delete, move, copy, and paste files just as you would if they were on your desktop. Now that your site is listed in the Files panel, it's now set up and ready to design. Throughout the rest of this lesson, we'll learn how to add text and images to your web page. Then, in the following lesson, we'll teach you how to create a page layout for your new site. So once you've set your site up, it's time to start creating new pages or files for the site. To add a new blank HTML page, go to File, New. On the left side of this window, you'll see the types of files or pages you can create. We'll cover all of these later in this course, but for now, we're just going to choose Blank Page. Next, you'll choose the page type, and we're going to choose HTML. And now we'll choose a layout for your blank page. If you don't want to choose a layout, select None. You can click on the different options and see what they look like in the preview window. So here I've selected the 2-column fixed with a right sidebar, a header, and a footer. Next, you'll choose a document type next to doc type. Dreamweaver CS6 create pages using XHTML 1.0 transitional doc type by default. This is the best option for most pages today. However, if the page you're working on requires strict HTML pages or you're using HTML5, change the setting. And then click Create to create your page. As you can see, our page is now created. Right now in this view, it just looks like a lot of code. We can customize the text and other features to customize the page. We'll learn how to do that as the course progresses. And take note that right now, by default, our page name is Untitled 1. Let's give it a custom name so that we know what it is. In order to do this, go to File, Save. Now remember what we learned earlier in this lesson when we talked about the structure of a website and pages. If this page is going to be the first page of your site, then you need to name it index.html. If your domain is www.abc.com, for example, and this is the page they'll see when they type in www.abc.com, then this page should be named index.html. Aside from the index page, always try to name your pages to represent the subject of the page or the content that will be on the page. You can see our file name has now changed. Now let's talk a little bit about fluid grid layouts. Fluid grid layouts are new to Dreamweaver CS6 and CC. Fluid grid layouts allow you to design different sized pages for websites that will be viewed on different sized devices. Using a fluid grid layout, you can design a website for viewing on a mobile device, tablet, or desktop. To create a website using fluid grid layout, go to File, New, and then select Fluid Grid Layout from the column on the left. And then click the Create button, and it will design your fluid grid layout. Now going back to our index site here, we can see all the code because we're in the code view mode. If we want to get a better idea of what the website will actually look like, we can change the view. Click on Design View in the document toolbar, and then it shows you what the website actually looks like. Now let's learn a little more about this Properties dialog box that we've talked about before. Individual aspects of a page can be changed by using the Property Inspector, which is right here. Using the Property Inspector, you can change selections of text from boldface to italics and so on. For example, we've selected a little chunk of text here. You can see that the text is selected, and now we go to the Property Inspector and click B for boldfaced. However, if we want changes that affect the entire page and not just parts of it, we use the Page Properties dialog box. So you could click on that here, or if you prefer, you could also go up to Modify and Page Properties. So let's go ahead and go into that box now. To change the background color or text color for your site, go to the Appearance section of the window above. And it will give you options for CSS or HTML. Right now we're working in HTML, so we'll click that. You can use the drop-down menus to select the background and the text color that you want. And here you can also change the background image by uploading from your computer and adjust the margins. Now if you look at the column on the left side of the window, you'll see right here it says Links CSS. Here you can change the link styles. When you change the style, you make it look different. Perhaps you want your links not to be underlined, as they currently are, or you want the text color of links to be a different color. You can click on Links CSS to change these things. You'll discover that the Page Properties dialog box comes in handy once you start designing your pages. For now, it's just important that you know where it is and how to use it when you want to make